for, well, all of humanity. Recently, scientists have started to say that it was most likely going to be possible in the future, but it was predicted that no human would break the 2-hour marathon barrier until about 2028 or 2029. So, breaking that a decade earlier, super, super exciting. It's interesting and similar to when history was set in the case of Sir Roger Bannister back in 1954 when he broke the 4-hour mile. And the interesting about that and many other barriers, once they get broken again and again and again. And it will not take, Kipchoge was the first to say, will not take another several millennia for another person to break the 2-hour marathon barrier. Now, once it's been done, it'll be done again and again and again and get better and better at it. This is really how, social scientists consider the breaking of barriers to work. Something is considered to be technically impossible until somebody does it. And that is one of the reasons why representation, why people breaking barriers is such a huge deal. We saw this in the United States when a non-white male was finally elected as the president. All of a sudden, in the next presidential races, we started seeing many, many more minority candidates on both sides of the aisle being taken seriously as candidates. Once it could be done, it can be done again. It can be done better. It can be done more often. And that's the way it works. That's why we are starting to care so much about representation in toys for young girls, where they can see astronauts, firemen, police, soldiers that look like them, sound like them, act like them, being represented in society. Kipchoge will be one of the first ones to tell you that what he did was significant, but it wasn't as significant for sports as it was significant for mankind. Kipchoge compares it to the moon landing, in that, the moon landing was something that happened in the middle of the Cold War. This was pretty much, based on what account you read, pulled out of a hat by the president and decided that this was going to be the line in the sand that we were setting. Humans were going to walk on the moon in the next decade. And in doing so, America very much pulled ahead of the rest of the world because they had achieved that goal. Obviously, that's an oversimplification. There was a lot of things that went into the Cold War, but the moon landing was very, very significant, right? And as was this race. He talks about how it's more than just minutes and seconds on a clock. It's a call to his people, it's a call to all people. Kenyans responded. They took to the streets. They were dancing. They were singing. It was a countrywide party. The president of Kenya gave Kipchoge a call. And so you can start to see that this is more than just an athletic feat. This is something that really meant something to people. I remember I remember many years ago when Meb Keflezighi was the first American to win the Boston Marathon in, I believe, over 25 years. I remember this so well because I was deployed to Afghanistan. I was an active duty soldier. I was overseas fighting the war on terror. And as a marathon runner, which you can see on my lovely wall of running trophies and running numbers, this was super exciting to me and my colleagues that were runners. Like, we loved to watch the races, but there was a reason that it was even more exciting and more important. And that was because 2014 was the year after the Boston Marathon had been interrupted by the Boston Marathon bombing. People were traumatized. People were frightened. America was shaken. Yet again, another terrorist attack on our soil that had killed people, that had injured people, and that had shattered our sense of safety and of being Americans. And we needed to do something to take it back. And when an American was crossing the finish line, an American as amazing as Meb was crossing that finish line and winning that medal, that meant something to everyone. To me, that inspired me to go win my own version of the Boston Marathon. So you got like a medal, got a trophy, which was this Boston Shadow Marathon that was conducted for the troops overseas in Afghanistan. When I did that, I broke the barriers in my mind, and I started to truly, truly believe I could do anything. I could do anything. I could win anything. I could get anything I wanted out of life. Such an important moment for me, and breaking any barrier in your life, whether it's a historical barrier, whether it's a personal barrier, whether it's a business barrier, that can do something for you too. Now, an interesting part too is that this turned into a debate. And in part, that was because this won't be a world record because it was not an official race. It was a race that was constructed specifically for this attempt. Secondly, it's starting to come into some conflict and some criticism because he had special shoes made for the event that maybe gave him an unfair advantage. He had a team of pacers running with him, which, by the way, it's really amazing to watch him and his pacers running because this man ran 26.2 miles in 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 40 seconds. That is a 13 miles per hour. That is a 4:33 mile pace. If you're a runner, that should mean something to you. If you've driven a car, that should mean something to you. That's really, really fast. And when you watch them running it, they just look like they're out for a leisurely stroll, like not running faster than any human being on earth has ever run before. It is phenomenal, phenomenal. Definitely the assumption is that he will go down in history as the first man to break the 2-hour marathon barrier, whether or not it's assumed to be an official race. And the thing with technology and breaking barriers is always controversial. Using technology is always controversial. There's always people that are not going to be happy that the barrier was broken or that are going to say it wasn't fair. And, there's already been a lot of writing comparing this attempt or achievement to when Sir Edmund Hillary summited Everest in 1953. He did this with the aid of advanced technology at the time, an oxygen tank. And so, of course, it was considered to be, well, not fair. Humans can't really do it without the aid of technology. But the thing that happened then was that the mountain had been previously considered impossible to summit. Now, nobody could say it was impossible to summit. They could say it's impossible to summit without help, but it's not impossible. It's been done. There are pictures of a dude up on top of Everest. And so more and more people started setting out to do it. Very few people are bold enough to actually chart their own path, to actually do something that's never been done before and that's considered impossible. Many people are early adopters. So once it's been proven to be possible, many, many people will start to do it and they will make it better and they will improve on it. It didn't take that long before somebody summited Everest without oxygen, and now it's done all the time. Same thing for breaking the 4-minute barrier in the mile. Most male professional athletes now that are mile or longer athletes now run sub 4-minute miles. It's considered to be still very difficult, still a feat. Climbing Everest is still a feat of endurance and a lot of money, but it's doable. So I think that we definitely shouldn't write off breaking barriers just because of some sort of technology, because Kipchoge is the first one to say that somebody else is going to do it. Somebody else is going to do it better, and it's going to happen soon. And athletes are now going to hit this goal with so much renewed vigor, hoping that they can add a sub 2-hour marathon to their time. It's going to be done without special shoes. It's going to be done without special pacers. It certainly will be done, and it will be done again soon. And that is an incredible thing. So why does all the running matter if you're not a marathoner? It matters because as someone who's struggled through marathons and breaking through barriers of my own, I can tell you that this matters because once we do something, once it's considered possible, more and more people will achieve it for themselves. And once we have such great success breaking barriers in one area of our life, it's going to translate to other areas of our lives. If you can pick one thing and you can build in yourself a drive to achieve it, you can replicate that action again and again and again and build towards success. So today I want to share 5 steps for breaking barriers in business and life. The first one is dream big and read broadly. So no one ever broke through a tough barrier without dreaming big, without being able to picture themselves celebrating at the finish. It's important to be pushing yourself towards something. Reading broadly, and especially with like a wide range of voices, marginalized voices, things that are very, very different from you, allows you to open your minds and imagine things that you've never heard or thought of before. You want to be intentional. You want to realize that achieving major goals is going to take major, major, major amounts of commitment. Kipchoge did not just wake up one day and decide to break the 2-hour marathon. He has dedicated his entire life to this. Oh, and by the way, that world marathon record that he didn't set with his sub 2-hour marathon, he already holds with his marathon that's like 20 seconds short of breaking the 2-hour barrier. So, he's sitting pretty cool. I remember for myself, like after my Boston marathon, I decided I was going to go break the 3-hour marathon, which is a big deal for most women and most people actually. But then you know what? I had a new baby. I was raising her in a foreign language. I was trying to figure out how to be a mom. And I decided that those things were more important to me than spending 4 hours a day running. So neither one is maybe better or worse, or we could make the argument that both of these things are important for different reasons. And they were certainly both very, very important to me. But I had to be intentional about which goal I was going to choose because of the point in my life that I could only dedicate that much effort to one of these goals. I've still run like 3 or 4 marathons since I had the baby. I just didn't hit my 3-hour goal. Number 3. So number 1 is dream big and read broadly. Number 2, be intentional, right? With what you said is your goal. Number 3, don't let anyone tell you that it's impossible. Look, it's super important to seek out advice, to listen to everyone, to take criticism. But when people are telling you it can't be done, like that just means it hasn't been done yet. One of my favorite quotes from an amazing writing teacher and professional writer that I love is, "You can do anything you want as long as it works." That is Susan Shapiro from the Byline Bible. She's awesome. Read the book. So many times people telling us that something's impossible have no experience in business and with coaching entrepreneurs. I love to tell people, like, only take serious advice from someone who's already built a multi-million-dollar business. If they're telling you that something's impossible to achieve, like, take other people's advice, maybe pivot, maybe change your plan. But don't quit just because somebody else has told you that they think it's impossible. So number 1, dream big and think broad. Dream big and read broadly. Think broadly too, of course. Number 2 is be intentional. Number 3, don't let anyone tell you what is and what isn't impossible. Number 4 is don't settle. Breaking barriers often are just slight, tiny little improvements on something that's already considered more than good enough. I mentioned that Kipchoge is the current holder of the world marathon record. It's not like somebody else took his title and he had to go take it back. It's not like anyone was saying this man was slow or this man wasn't the most amazing distance athlete in the world. But he still had this drive to go do the next thing, to make this symbol for people. When we hear sometimes, I think people say, "Oh, look how far we've come." It sounds inspiring and encouraging, but really it's the first step of settling, of being happy with what we've already achieved. Of course, we've come far. Humanity has come very far, which just means we're higher up and now we can step higher. Now we can do more. Same is true in your business. Don't quit. Number 5 is don't quit. That's probably the obvious one. Nothing worth achieving is easy, or everyone will be doing it, and it wouldn't be a barrier, and it wouldn't be phenomenal, whether for you or whether for the whole world. So once you've done your dreaming, once you've been intentional and you realize what you're pursuing is for the right reasons, you're not listening to the naysayers that are telling you it's impossible, you're not settling for good enough, then just don't quit. Just keep doing it. It might be something that takes you your whole life, but just think about that achievement, what it's going to be worth to you, and what else you can achieve once you know that nothing is really, really, really impossible. Eliud Kipchoge missed his last attempt at 26.2 miles in under 2 hours by 20 seconds. He didn't quit, and now he's done it, and history is going to remember his name, and every marathon runner coming after him is going to be part of this incredible tradition where we do things that are considered to be physically, humanly impossible. That is the blog post for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry that we had some stops and some starts and some technical difficulties. As you know, I'm still working through a lot of these things, but please do join us every Tuesday at 12:30 in Seattle, 2:30 Central on Facebook for a live discussion of a deep dive of something to do with the larger idea of culture, sometimes workplace, sometimes national or international identity, etc. I am Daniella Mestinek Young. I'm a TEDx speaker, an author, combat veteran, and a co founder of Cavness HR. Cavness HR is a tech company, HR tech company, whose mission is to take big business HR and make it available to small businesses. We're doing this through a series of innovative tech products, software as a service products, and virtual consulting that can help you do all of the things that you need to do to take care of your human resources, to build your company's culture, and to develop leaders of tomorrow at your organization or place of business. Thanks so much, and please follow along with us on social media for all of the great content that we put out every day. Remember, be great every day. Thanks. See you next week.